Hi everyone, Assalamualaikum. We are going to discuss on how to develop interview questions in qualitative research. Well, actually there are three types of interview in qualitative research. Those are the structured, unstructured, and semi-structured interview. However, as no research interview lacks of structure, so interview needs a well-prepared questions so that there are only two types that commonly used by researchers. Those are the semi-structured and lightly structured or in-depth interview. So, for the unstructured interviews are generally suggested for a long-term field work. So, if you ever watch some reality show, they did interview, they will not use unstructured interview. They must use the semi-structured or in-depth one. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is that how to develop the structured interview. As for how to make it semi-structured or in-depth interview is how will you follow up those interview questions. But the first thing that you need to do is making or developing the interview questions. What will be the first step? Right. I would like to give you a sample of research, a qualitative research. This is very simple. So the title is Students' Perception in Experiencing Adapted Lesson as Text-Mediated Exposure of Listening Skills. So through this title, we could conclude that there are actually two constructs in this research. Those are the ATAT lesson as text-mediated exposure and listening skills. There will be no theory about at that lesson because that's a platform. As when you have a title Kahoot and then Facebook and Instagram, there will be no theory about that. So, at that lesson as text-mediated exposure will be considered in the theory for online learning. So this I use the theory from Fay and Kristen 2011. Essentials of Online Course Design, a Standard-Based Guide from Routledge. As then, for the listening skills, we have to make sure that the listening skills here will not any kind of listening skills. Since the context of this research is about online, so this should be the listening skills that will be conducted online. That is why I use the theory from Burns 1998 and the book entitled Teaching Speaking Annual Review of Applied Linguistics. But why, Miss? Why listening skills? Then you use the theory of speaking. Yeah, well, actually, in Burns' book about speaking, she also discussed about listening as well. So we are going to dig more how the listening skills as the construct. So the first thing, again, after you have the research title, you need to determine the construct, and then the next one is you choose which theory is available and suitable for the construct that you have chosen. And then the next one is you have to find the conceptual definition of the theory through the theory that you have chosen. For example, to define the concept of online learning, text-mediated exposure, what is the definition? So when we talk about conceptual definition, you need to find what the definition is. So these are the conceptual definition of online text-mediated learning. So from Fay and Kristen, they define online text-mediated learning into several factors or several categories. There are actually 6 categories to be said as it has been okay to be said as online learning or online text-mediated learning. Those are teachers must change the way to interact, and then we have also here the visual design should be simple, organized, and clean, and also flexible. and also needs to be examined in quantity and the quality itself. So where can you find it? Yeah, after you grab the paper that you have read before during our before Ramadan break discussion, um, in the paper there will be definition about the construct that you have chosen. I'm sorry. Okay, and then the next one is you try to wrap up the components of the from the conceptual definition. So remember that in the conceptual definition there are actually 6 categories. So I will try to make it simpler into the components 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's check about the listening skills and Burns. Alright, the setting of this research is in the subject. The name is daily communication, so it will not consist of only speaking but must be listening as well. So the definition of listening skills here is not listening as it is, but listening as a part of communication. So there are 2 types, the situation oriented and non-situational communication. And then direct the components. 2. Asking and explaining direction to a place, asking and giving advice or suggestion, ordering hotels or food in restaurants, booking movies, buying tickets, those of transactional communication. So then, how will it goes then after we know the conceptual definition, after we know the construct, the conceptual definition, the components, what will we do next? So we're going to make the interview questions from the components that you have chosen, and then start with the word how or why. Start with the word how or why. How or why. Never use what is. Never use yes no question. Will you, is there. You are allowed to do that, but it is more on the probing questions, not the interview questions, the structured interview question itself. Of course, you see that Najwa Shihab will not say mengapa Bapak suka bakso. In sudden, there will be apakah Bapak pernah beli bakso, and then he will answer yes, and then why do you like it, right? So you do not need to put the probing questions in the table. You can just put the structured questions only. So how will it be displayed? So in your next assignment is that you need to work on this, make a table, a rail of thought of interview questions. This is your research instruments in qualitative research. So you have the construct, conceptual definition, components, and then the interview questions. So how about the findings? This is the sample. I enjoyed so much because the video is explained clearly and it is very trained my listening as well. So it has an impact to the listening skills. But I think the question can be a bit difficult. So the participant think that the questions that the lecturer made in the TED-Ed videos for the listening skills is not really difficult. It's too easy. So I mean the answer is explicit so the students can learn to analyze the answer through the video, because in daily communication it is given for the first semester student. That is why it was not into C4 for analysis but more on C2 on understanding. But since the students as the participant here has a very good speaking skill, so that is why she gave the suggestion to make it a little bit difficult. So that's all. Remember to make this rail of thought as your research instruments. Thank you and good luck.